So it's not 100% what everybody wants, but when you look, the country is going to be stronger. This is going to be transformational.
After tough negotiations to reach a tentative debt ceiling deal with the White House, the next challenge for U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is pushing it through his chamber. On Sunday, McCarthy dismissed vehement opposition among party hardliners, predicting that most House Republicans would support the deal to suspend the $31.4 trillion debt ceiling.
This is a good, strong bill that a majority of Republicans will vote for.
But not everyone agrees. Members of the hardline House Freedom Caucus said they would try to prevent the agreement from passing the House in a vote expected on Wednesday. Republican lawmaker Chip Roy wrote on Twitter Sunday that the agreement would leave intact an expansion of the IRS set in place when Democrats controlled both chambers of Congress. Republican Ken Buck tweeted, "I am appalled by the debt ceiling surrender." And Senator Lindsey Graham tweeted, "Do not intend to default on debt, but will not support a deal that reduces the size of the Navy and prevents continued technological and weapons assistance to Ukraine." A failure by Congress to deal with its self-imposed debt ceiling before June 5th could trigger a default, according to the Treasury Department. That would shake financial markets and send the United States into a deep recession. Narrow margins in both chambers of Congress mean that moderates from both sides will have to support the bill. Republican opposition could also spell trouble for McCarthy. To win the Speaker's gavel, McCarthy agreed to enable any single House member to call for a vote to unseat him, potentially making him vulnerable to ouster by disgruntled Republicans. But on Sunday, the Speaker said he was not at all concerned about that possibility.
Not at all. Not at all.
There have been 121 ayes and 23 nays, 2 present not voting, 3 absent. The resolution is adopted.
In historic proceedings, the Texas House of Representatives voted on Saturday to impeach Attorney General Ken Paxton. That's after the conservative firebrand and ally of former President Donald Trump was accused by his fellow Republicans of abuse of office.
We take this role solemnly, seriously, and with great humility.
Paxton's impeachment proceedings laid bare the rift among Texas Republicans.
It is all rumor, it is all innuendo, it is all speculation.
While Paxton received some backing in the House, perhaps the loudest message of support came from Trump on his social media channel, Truth Social. Ahead of the vote, Trump vowed to fight Texas House Republicans if Paxton were to be impeached. 20 articles of impeachment were presented by a Republican-led House committee. The accusations include improperly aiding a wealthy political donor, conducting a sham investigation against whistleblowers in his office whom he fired, and covering up his wrongdoing in a separate federal securities fraud case against him. Paxton has denied the accusations, and on Friday, lashed out at what he called an illegal impeachment scheme.
The fact that I was prohibited from presenting evidence to defend myself reveals that this shameful process was curated from the start as an act of political retribution.
Following Saturday's vote, he released a statement on Twitter, calling the proceedings illegal, unethical, and profoundly unjust. Paxton will now be temporarily removed from office, pending a trial in the Senate, where his wife, Angela Paxton, is a senator.
Russia unleashed waves of airstrikes on the Ukrainian capital overnight as it prepared to celebrate the anniversary of its founding, Kyiv Day, on Sunday. Officials called it a record drone attack on the city, the largest since the war started. Ukraine's Air Force said it downed 52 out of the 54 Iranian-made kamikaze drones. Falling debris killed a 41-year-old man, Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said, and set a 3-story warehouse on fire. Reuters witnesses said air raid alerts started soon after midnight, and some people stood on their balconies screaming insults at Russian President Vladimir Putin. With the Ukrainian counter-offensive looming 15 months into the war, Moscow has intensified airstrikes after a lull of nearly 2 months, chiefly targeting military sites and supplies. Kyiv Day marks the official founding of the city 1,541 years ago. Usually it holds street fairs, live concerts and special exhibitions, but this year's celebrations were planned on a smaller scale.
Tayyip Erdogan is staying on as president of Turkey after winning the runoff presidential election on Sunday with just over 52% of the vote. It was seen as the toughest political challenge yet to his increasingly authoritarian rule, now set to enter its third decade. Speaking to supporters outside his home in Istanbul before the final results were released, he said, "Turkey is the only winner today." Thousands of jubilant Erdogan supporters celebrated in Turkey's streets.
"We are very happy. We think Erdogan deserved to win. That was what had to happen. There couldn't have been another leader in this country."
Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated his, quote, "dear friend" on his victory. The election was seen as one of the most consequential yet for Turkey. The opposition believed it had a strong chance of unseating Erdogan after his popularity was hit by a cost-of-living crisis. Challenger Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu called it the most unfair election in years, but did not dispute the outcome. Erdogan, who is the head of the Islamist-rooted AK party, appealed to voters with nationalist and conservative rhetoric. His record includes having redrawn domestic, economic, security, and foreign policy in the NATO member country of 85 million people. The prospect of 5 more years of his rule is a major blow to opponents who accuse him of undermining democracy as he has amassed even more power, a charge he denies.